A lot of people have asked the question, couldn't Lightning McQueen just upgrade himself? And even though that sounds like the easiest solution, it's actually way more complicated than most people think. Maybe he never even needed to, but I'll get back to that later in the video. I'm going to go through many different topics, answering the most common questions about what McQueen could or couldn't realistically do, and we're starting with the basics, comparing the raw stats between Lightning McQueen and Jackson Storm. We know Jackson Storm's numbers pretty clearly. His engine produces around 850 horsepower, and his top speed is listed at 214 miles per hour. He's basically the representative of the next-gen racers who are basically built to be the absolute best. Now, McQueen's stats are complicated. The most common info says his V8 produces about 750 horsepower with a top speed of 200 miles per hour. But let's be honest, that feels like an oversimplification. In Cars 3, we literally see McQueen hit 196 miles per hour on the dirt short track in Radiator Springs. On top of that, he was already considered old by racing standards at that point. If he can hit almost 200 miles per hour there, his real top speed should logically be higher. Then there's a deleted scene from Cars 2 where McQueen's stats show a 198 miles per hour top speed, which is exactly what we saw in Cars 3. But Francesco's top speed is 220 miles per hour, and McQueen went wheel to wheel with Francesco, so I think he is around that number too. And if you go even deeper, in Cars the video game, McQueen literally says,
"Yeah, you want to see what 900 horsepower looks like?"
And honestly, that higher estimate makes sense when you see how McQueen was moving during Cars 1. He overtakes veteran racers like they're standing still, and the way he launches out of a safety car restart is absolutely ridiculous in terms of acceleration. Should I even mention the moment where he gained his lap back during the final race?
McQueen passes them on the inside!
But okay, even if it was like that, by the time Cars 3 came, he is already old, so let's assume he lost of his prime performance. Now too, couldn't Lightning McQueen just change his engine? Now here's the thing, theoretically, yeah, he probably could, but first of all, if we take motorsport rules from real NASCAR, they simply wouldn't allow something like that. So realistically, he would be stuck with his carbureted V8. But even if upgrades were allowed, it wouldn't be that simple. We can't forget one really important detail about the Cars universe, that they basically have human-like organs inside them. And since all their mechanical components, including the engine, are connected to that internal system, replacing something as major as an engine wouldn't be like a normal car repair. It's not like Guido could just pull the engine out and drop a new one in, because at that point we're almost talking about surgery rather than mechanical work. What they could do is upgrade his current engine instead of fully replacing it. And we've actually seen procedures similar to that before, for example with Dusty Crophopper in Planes, or when Doc Hudson repaired himself after his brutal crash in 1954. Yeah, he actually did that. It's canon. So technically, internal upgrades and repairs do exist in this universe, but like I said earlier, the regulations of the Piston Cup most likely wouldn't allow something like that. Now here's a question that isn't actually asked very often. Why didn't Lightning McQueen remove the headlights he got in Cars 2? If you're not very familiar with racing, every single pound matters. If we assume an average headlight weighs around 7 to 13 pounds each, that's still extra weight, even if it doesn't sound like much. On top of that, real headlights would create a small aerodynamic disadvantage compared to the stickers he originally had, which were perfectly smooth with the body, but realistically, those factors wouldn't make a huge difference. The weight increase is minor, and the aerodynamic penalty would be very small compared to the overall performance gap. And even without those headlights, McQueen would still lose to Jackson Storm. Why not just use his Cars 2 spoiler? Now for racing fans, this question might sound diabolically dumb, but I still need to explain why this would be a terrible idea. First of all, McQueen only changed his spoiler in Cars 2 for one reason only. He was racing on street circuits, which feature a lot of sharp turns. On tracks like that, cars benefit from more downforce, something Lightning couldn't achieve with his standard wing. For those who aren't familiar, downforce basically pushes the car down onto the track, increasing grip. In simple terms, more downforce means faster cornering, which actually summons up the question of how the fuck McQueen beat Francesco. I mean, the guy is a literal downforce demon, but I guess my boy McQueen couldn't care less about the laws of physics at all. That's why he's the GOAT. But here's the catch. The Piston Cup mostly takes place on oval tracks where maintaining a high top speed is far more important than cornering grip. Using a high downforce spoiler like the Cars 2 version would actually slow him down on straights, making it even harder to catch up to Jackson Storm. Interestingly, a similar experiment was done in real-life NASCAR with the Car of Tomorrow, which cars used a high downforce downforce spoiler, but overall, those cars weren't faster than the traditional NASCAR design, proving that adding downforce isn't always the right answer for every track. Some of you now will probably ask, then why the new gen cars like Jackson use them? Because it clearly helps being faster. Well, honestly, Pixar only made them look like that because they clearly needed to make the next generation cars look far more advanced. Because if they went for more realistic way, Jackson would not look that much different than Lightning McQueen. I mean, look at today's NASCAR. And that's 2025. Given the new gen and Cars 3 are cars produced around 2017, here's how real NASCAR cars looked like in 2017. Literally quite the same as Bobby Swift and Cal Weathers. Now, something I came across in the past few months, a member of a team who's an actual aerodynamic engineer found that Lightning McQueen is still, in some ways, faster than Jackson Storm. The fellas at RFK Racing, seriously, go check them out, discovered that McQueen was generating more downforce than Jackson Storm almost the entire time.
We can actually confirm that Lightning McQueen the whole time was making more downforce than Jackson Storm.
So if there were more races on road courses, because yeah, NASCAR drivers don't just turn left, McQueen would probably have the upper hand. But here's the flip side. They also found that Jackson has significantly less drag, which of course gives him a huge advantage on oval tracks, especially on the straights.
Jackson Storm also has significantly less drag. If you look at our drag coefficient of 0.406 with Jackson Storm here, and compared to Lightning McQueen is 0.613.
So it's no wonder he won all of those races without breaking a sweat. Now it's time for my favorite part, and at the same time my least favorite. Without doing anything extra, Lightning McQueen was still absolutely capable of beating Jackson Storm fair and square, and you know what? He actually did beat him, we just never got to see it. Almost the entire Cars 3 was about McQueen training to get faster, or more precisely, smarter. The moment Smokey showed McQueen what Doc Hudson did to the faster rookie, that was exactly what McQueen needed to beat Storm. Drafting or slipstreaming, literally one of the most essential techniques in motorsport, especially in NASCAR. And the fact that McQueen didn't need to use it all those years just shows how much faster he was during his career. Do I even have to say it? The King literally did what McQueen was supposed to do. Even though he was the absolute oldest car during the first movie, he still managed to win almost every race, even after McQueen showed up, who, let's be real, was basically the Jackson Storm of his time. Also, I had to sneak this in, just look what McQueen does in the opening scene. He overtakes cars from the same generation as him like they are standing still. At the last moment, Pixar decided to delete the ending where Lightning McQueen used drafting on Jackson and overtook him just before the finish line.
Well, it's complete. You're as slow as he was, and now you even look like him. You gonna race like the old man, too?
You know what? I hope I do.
Because let's not forget, despite the whole grid being filled with rookies, he was still faster than all of them, making him the second fastest car on track. But thanks to Peace Punks' great animation, we can at least see how this could have looked like.
Hey, Jackson. Storm's over.
If Pixar had let us see this glorious moment, this video would probably never exist. So yeah, McQueen may not be as fast as Storm, and like Smokey said, he will probably never be, but this does not matter because McQueen was always capable of beating Jackson Storm, and honestly, this would have been the perfect ending. But I guess we all know why they changed it and pushed us a female protagonist who came out of nowhere. No hate to Cruz, but that was completely necessary. Alrighty, as always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to disagree with me in the comments.